recently celebrated my birthday, my 25th on this little blue dot, and it was fairly good.
Happy birthday to me.
I'm usually immune to any dread that sometimes comes with being a year older, but seeing as 2021 marked me being a quarter of a century old, though I still want a refund for 2020 after, I couldn't help but reflect on my life. I soaked in all the things I've accomplished over the years. I thought about all the wonderful memories I've made with my friends and loved ones. I looked at everything I'm grateful for in my life, and I'm lying. I spent the whole day in my jammies playing Danganronpa and watching The Simpsons.
Good Lord, what is happening in there? Aurora Borealis?
The Simpsons have been a part of my life for as long as I can remember, which isn't all that special to say considering it's one of the longest run shows ever made, making billions of dollars in revenue and becoming an unstoppable cultural phenomenon. But for the sake of the video, let me have this. My little comfort that has defined my sense of humour, my love of animation, and in the case of Ned Flanders, my emotional attachment to my pitiful, pitiful moustache. People smarter and far more sadistic than me have covered The Simpsons in a variety of well-made videos, but one thing that often gets overlooked is the music. The show has been nominated for the Outstanding Original Music and Lyrics Emmy 9 times, taking home the prize twice. Take that into account with how some of these songs still hold a fondness in people's hearts after all these years, and it's not hard to make the argument that the music of The Simpsons is well worth discussing. And with season 33 having just premiered, and hopefully no new songs or musicals or anything that would make this video an entire waste of time, what better time than to count down every Simpsons song? And you might be thinking to yourself, are there rules for such a video? Nope, no rules. Wait, no, there should be a comma there. There should be a comma. Roll the clip. Rule number 1, the song has to have appeared in an episode of The Simpsons. So, unfortunately, it's just a burning memory by the caretaker, won't be appearing on this list. It also means that any original tracks like Do the Bartman and Deep Deep Trouble won't be appearing here. Rule number 2, it must be an original song, and in my opinion, substantial. So while the fan wiki states that there are nearly 500 original Simpsons songs, I'm not going to include something like Glove Slap, since it's more of a weird cover than an effective parody of Love Shack, or Spider Pig, which doesn't pass the 20-second mark even if it is incredibly catchy. That's not to say songs that riff on other media won't be included, it just has to pass a pretty subjective test to be considered. Rule number 3, just make things simpler, no purely instrumental tracks like the main theme or brief jingles like Mr. Plow. That's my name, that name again is Mr. Plow. Lastly, rule number 4, musicals will be judged as a whole and not as individual tracks, just for the sake of pacing and simplicity. And with that boring rule baloney out of the way, it is time to count down every Simpsons song ranked from every Simpsons song ranked from worst to best. And with these kind of videos, there's always going to be a loser, and you know, it's not fun to pick on a loser. It's kind of, comes with the job. Oh wait, no, scratch that. It brings me unbridled, tremendous joy to shit on the loser. Let me pitch you a concept. What if One Direction were Australian? Yep, seems about right.
And we harmonise, and you look in our eyes, you'll see it's no surprise.
I feel like with the worst entry on any list, you should feel so angry with it that it drives you to drop bomb after scathing bomb. But in the case of Love You Forever, I just feel overwhelming nothingness. Yay, woo, Simpsons are doing boy band jokes again, but forgot to make the jokes funny, the song catchy, and the members themselves in any way charismatic. I think what really irked me the most was the throwback to a Simpsons band that we'll get into later on in this very video that was just so shameless and forced and unfunny that I just stopped watching the episode. Yep, as far as I'm concerned, Friend Without Benefits ends at that very moment. I can live the rest of my life knowing that I don't know how that episode ends. And I do think this is an instance where I'm in the right. I was in the right when I walked out of the dilemma when I was like 13 years old. Don't ask. And I'm right in saying that this song right here is the worst Simpsons song. So bad that I don't even want to call it by name anymore. Let's not even perceive it anymore. It is, yep, very bad song. Not good in ears. Let's just move on. Look, I'm going to try my very best not to rag on some of these songs just because they come from the show's later or weaker seasons. But while it is just a La La Land riff, another Springfield Day lasts over a minute, meaning it passes my already flimsy rule set to be discussed here, and it sucks. This song is the suckiest suck that ever sucked. Whether it's little things like how weird the mixing is, to the larger problems like the singing being as stiff as a body undergoing Rick and Morty, and it just being painfully unfunny despite numerous attempts to be funny, everything adds up to make this one of the blandest, most unlikable songs the show has put out, to the point where I wish I was getting crushed by one of God's giant yellow fingers. Anyway, maybe the rest of the episode is good, and I take that back. Okay, so what's up next? Ricky Gervais tries to serenade Marge Simpson. Puke.
Lady, when you came to me, I was feeling blue.
This is a tricky one because the writers clearly got Ricky Gervais on to be like David Brent, whose whole bit is making you cringe with how bad and awkward he is at pretty much everything. So by calling Lady in Blue one of the worst songs ever to feature in The Simpsons, wouldn't that in fact make it a good David Brent song, and therefore a good song, which wouldn't make it one of the worst in... Where was that? Oh yeah, Lady Blue isn't a good song, but it's more down to how painfully unfunny and try-hard it is. You can't really make an acoustic song aggravating, at least not sound-wise, but just how ham-fisted the quote-unquote wordplay is, and how it doesn't even get out of me, makes it unremarkable in just about every way. Also, all the animated Ricky Gervais shenanigans in this song, and the episode as a whole, just... It just makes me want to puke. An episode where the unbelievably rich Mr. Burns fears the consequences of his actions, wants to flee the planet and leave everyone else to perish except from the best and the brightest. Man, I thought The Simpsons was meant to be good at predicting stuff. This is so unrealistic.
Tests 4. Sympathy and empathy and group collaboration. Artistry and neatness and complex socialization.
Jabs aside, PVQ is Professor Fink's rebuttal to Mr. Burns' idea of only allowing those who pass an IQ test to be allowed in this space art, pitched in song form to make it more entertaining. Sadly, that entertainment is just like his pitch, a theory, and what we get isn't going to help us win the science fair. Man, those Freudians are a bunch of motherfuckers. It really just comes down to the song being unremarkable on every level. It would have been funnier to give Frink a totally unfitting singing voice, rather than the squabbling which messes with the musical nature of the whole thing. That and the instrumentation being pretty flaccid makes this song the equivalent of a failed baking soda volcano, rather than the Mount Vesuvius you'd like a Simpsons song to be. Look, if I wanted to listen to a nerd philosophising, I would listen to Car Seat Headrest, and believe me, I already do too much. Oh man, I'm so excited to talk about this song because according to the script here, it's from the best Simpsons episode. Oh wait, there's an asterisk here. Oh man. Yeah, we couldn't do a video with worse than Simpsons in the title without bringing up Lisa Goes Gaga. It's regularly called the most terrible episode the show's ever put out, and while it's not to blame for the downfall of the show, it definitely didn't help matters, that's for sure. That being said, could the track Superstar, performed by Lisa and guest star Lady Gaga, be the episode's one saving grace? Did you not just hear me say this was one of the worst Simpsons episodes ever?
I used to think that I was stupid, worthless, weak, and wrong. A mockingbird without a song.
Okay, Lisa Goes Gaga might be one of the worst episodes of the show, but at least Superstar isn't the absolute worst song the show's put out. Hot take, but Lady Gaga can sing, even if it's over a beat that's entirely derivative of what she was putting out at the time of this episode's release, and is... Oh man, is that it? Yeah, I think it is. This is down there in the murky swamp of fight song, self-power schlop that just does nothing for me. At least when Gaga has done it in the past, a la Born This Way, it's been fun, but while Superstar may think it is that, it just so happens to contain a sentiment that most people that hear it would agree with.
End the song! End it right here!
Despite coming from a time long after old school diehards had abandoned ship, The Food Wife is a pretty worthwhile episode in my opinion, exploring the cool dad strict mum dynamic by flipping it on its head, using the lens of, you guessed it, a food blog. This is a March episode that I find to be pretty endearing. What a shame then that blogging a food blog is kinda weak.
We're blogging a food blog, marching Bart and Lisa is one now. We're having fun now.
Yeah, this track tries to riff on Empire State of Mind, which was already kinda old news in 2011, 2 years after it came out, and a decade later. It's a shame that an episode has so many depictions of tasty food is itself bland. I got excited to check this one out after seeing that Tim and Eric of Tim and Eric fame appeared, but my legs are long, this song is not. Considering the aforementioned song it's riffing on and the dunking on Instagram food lovers, this is definitely one of the more dated songs in this selection. From the episode Mummy Beerus, aka the one where Homer gets emotionally cuckolded, we get the song Welcome to Moe's, which is just as messy as an episode with a plot like this would imply.
This place is a diamond, but it's trapped in the rough.
Yeah, well, the sign still says Mo, so enough of your guff.
It kinda just feels like a song for song's sake, as what we get feels intentionally clunky for comedic effect, just with none of the, comedy. Also, the Simpsons writers have a weird view of British pubs since they're a bit less of this and more this. You might want to take a seat here. A filler plot in a Simpsons episode results in a subpar Simpsons song. I know, I'm just as shocked as you are.
Snow white teeth and lips are red. She's the Wilma to my Fred.
While Milhouse grieves his supposedly dead parents, little orphan Millie decides to throw in a subplot about Homer forgetting the colour of Marge's eyes, culminating in the song Beautiful Eyes, which is certainly there, though I'd be lying if I said this was the first time a song made me go, show me Milhouse's dead parents or I'm gonna sue. I guess the sentiment is wholesome, even if I don't find it particularly heartwarming, and Homer not being able to come up with anything that rhymes with the word appraisal kind of feels like a funny throwback to when he was trying to come up with names for Bart. Though maybe I'm just giving this song far more credit in some attempt to not shit on it, I don't know.
Barry night. Squeeze your bar rag clean and dry.
Now this is interesting, our first song that isn't really part of the episode, as Bye Bye Night is a credit song. Not the only one, we'll see one or two more throughout the list, but yeah, this one is a bit on the weaker side. Though, if it made me think anything, it's that with all the voice acting getting rougher as the show goes on, Hank Azaria is still killing it as Moe. Set to a collage of Van Gogh paintings, this is basically Moe complaining about bar chores over a lone acoustic guitar, and that's about it. The whole joke about never listening to the shh lady in the Simpsons credits, only for the song to immediately be followed up by said lady, it got a giggle out of me, I can't deny that, but this is not a song that I would actively go out of my way to listen to, and I'm pretty proud of myself. I mean, you're probably expecting me to do some sort of Moe pun wordplay here. Nope, Moe. Shit. When it comes to talking about Simpsons legends, there are the usual suspects: creator Matt Groening, writer Sam Simon, James L. Brooks, Conan O'Brien, John Vitti, Jennifer Crittenden, and plenty more. But one who I feel deserves more named praise is Jeff Martin. Not only is he credited for some of the show's best episodes, but when it came to proliferating the Simpsons music, He absolutely helped spearhead it with some of the more noticeable songs you expect to see on this list coming from an episode he helped write. After taking a 23-year break, Jeff returned to write the episode How Lisa Got Her Marge Back, and of course it wouldn't be a Jeff episode if we didn't get some sort of music to mention on this list. The Bad News Bears show isn't the first time The Simpsons has made a musical out of an old piece of media, and I'm hesitant to say it's one of the best either.
I'm a bad boy.
Put it down to being a bit rusty, but the showmanship and wow factor we'd experience with Jeff's work in something like Homer's Barbershop Quartet and A Streetcar Named Marge are noticeably absent. I won't say there's no quality to the Broadway feel of it all, it's just as good as the show has ever produced when it comes to these kind of theatrical songs, but for the length that it goes on for, I just feel that Bad News Bears the musical had zero staying power. A bit bleh, a bit predictable, a bit plain. I wish I got to hear the Paul Blart musical instead. As I dig into some of the later cuts from this show, I'm beginning to see a common theme where an episode has a good concept but just lacks the execution.
No Mary Jane or Lois Lane with whom I'd commingle.
In Married to the Blob's case, it's comic book guy realising he's using his nerd status to distract himself from his loneliness, never giving love a chance except for that time and the other time. Anyway, at least the comic book guy's lament, which facing the issue I find a lot of Simpsons songs can have, where they just don't get enough room to breathe. I think that becomes especially evident with the White Stripes-esque Milo segment, which could have led to this cool sounding, epic, visual heavy epiphany, but all in all it's pretty by the numbers. You can also tell it's trying to be funny in a self-deprecating way, which is a shame since it's outshined like a minute after the song ends where it's said that 3 people willingly want to meet Joss Whedon, which is like 3 too many.
You would be member number 003. I am the first 2.
Up next we have Everybody Hates Ned Flanders, the song that I was the most excited to hear for the first time, and the song that disappointed me the most.
F.L.A. His name is Ned! E.R.S. That's a stupid name! He's worse than Frankenstein or Dr. No!
I don't think you can blame me for that first part. Talking Heads David Byrne in an episode of The Simpsons featuring on a song. It should be a match made in heaven, an esoteric banger that would have your topster quaking, but it just ends up being a diss track that's only real winning element is Byrne himself adding some ill-fitting but on-brand ramblings, though he ain't sounding too hot compared to his usual output, and I'm not just saying he sounded better back in the day, even as recently as like 2018 he was sounding fire. This sounds like quite poor form for him. Ah well, at least it ended up giving us mo mo mo, so you know, every cloud.
Mo, mo, mo. How do you like me? How do you like me? Mo, mo, mo. Why don't you like me? Nobody likes me. Any minute now, he'll scamper through that doggy door.
Alternatively titled A Furry Love Song by many viewers, and by many I mean just me, Any Minute Now comes from the Love Springfieldian style trilogy episode, despite one of the segments literally revolving around Sid and Nancy. The episode's only fully fledged song comes from Lady and the Tramp middle segment, though it must be stressed that Sex Pistols in this episode are significantly more punk than the real deal. On to Any Minute Now, and I'll give this song something. At least it's not that racist Siamese song from the 1955 animated film. It's just your classic Longing For style song that does a job, though when it comes to remembering anything about it, the only lasting detail is the track confirming the existence of dog prostitutes. Take that for what you will. I creatively borrow from Super Eye Patch Wolf, enough so that I feel like I owe him one by making him and people that are into wrestling aware of the Simpsons episode Gorgeous Grandpa, which follows his career as a heel in the 50s. The writers are smart enough to pair him up with Mr. Burns, which leads to the song we're about to discuss, High to Be Loathed.
You've got to love to be hated, find the good in being bad.
On paper, this track isn't half bad. It's very much a Tom Waits Rain Dogs type of song, that kind of Disney villain tune that is big and bombastic, though sadly the execution leaves me a little famished. I think it would have been a good call to get a guest singer in, as Mr. Burns' voice is just feeling rather meek and void of the sinisterness or energy needed to sell it. Could have done without that verse. It's basically a Wikipedia list of bad people. High to be Loathed is fine, but your favourite Martian did this type of song better. Again, take that for what you will.
You gotta like me, you gotta love me, 'cause I can do most anything.
Out of all the Simpsons songs, You're Gonna Like Me feels the most dated, and I'm not talking in a kind of way. I mean with the references that are the crux of the comedy. I mean the Holly Gully, Vince Gully, money? What the hell is this guy talking about? Sure, it sounds the part, it's a success in making Gabbo's impact and significance absolutely apparent sonically, and with the visual cues as well, but as far as an overall song, it's just fine if a bit muddled.
Don't vote for me, kids of Springfield.
I was expecting big things from Vote for a Winner, considering it was the penultimate song to get nominated for an Emmy, but in all honesty, I wish Nelson's Iron Man was eligible over this.
I am Iron Man! Do-do-do-do-do-do-do! Vote for me!
It's not bad per se, it just feels like such a lame plea of a song when the show was shown itself capable of bringing the oomph necessary to make a pitch compelling. This one is meant to be a parody of Don't Cry For Me Argentina, but unlike other attempts the show has made to emulate original songs, especially theatrical ones, it seems to miss the mark on what makes them work, especially the beautiful vocals and lush instrumentation. Don't let this season 15 cut fool you. It may be called Vote for a Winner, but it's more of a runner-up. It wouldn't feel like a comprehensive Simpsons list without getting to mention one of its most villainous, yet lovable side characters, Sideshow Bob. Guest stars mostly get a few episodes maximum, but Kelsey Grammer of Frasier fame has garnered so much adoration that he's appeared in over 30 episodes, and if Mr. Robert Terwilliger has an affinity stronger for anything other than killing Bart, it would be for theatre.
I've grown accustomed to his face and dreams of gouging out his eyes.
Cape Fear makes this apparent with Bart saving himself by making him sing the entirety of HMS Pinafore, but it's not until season 14's The Great Louse Detective that we get a semi-original song from the big-haired criminal. Parodying My Fair Lady's I've Grown Accustomed to Her Face, the very reason that I live is melodramatic and over the top, but that's no critique. If I did have one complaint, it would probably be that it deviates enough from the source material to be eligible for this list, but not enough to make it more interesting, though that being said, Kelsey Grammer's voice is just wonderful, and what this means for Bob and Bart's dynamic definitely helps knock it up a peg or two. When it comes to ideas The Simpsons has had, I think you struggle to find one that the show hasn't eventually milked to death. We all know the former iconic status of the Treehouse of Horror episodes, as well as the fate certain characters have faced, going from fully fleshed to simply quote puking. If I was to point at something that I wish the show did more of other than just make the funny bits funny, it would be this. More spin-off showcases.
Looks like we've got our first case ever, Skinny Boy. And this time, it's personal.
Chief Wiggum, P.I., will return right now.
We get Chief Wiggum P.I., no prize for guessing what that one's about, the Love-matic Grandpa, where Grandpa's soul takes over Love Machine and helps Moe, and the Simpsons Family Smile Time Variety Hour, where we get our current entry from. Parodying 60s and 70s live variety shows like The Brady Bunch, the theme for this spin-off show has the exact look of paint you'd expect from that decade, and, well, not much else. If I was getting to include Spiller's Licorice Whip and Jasper's Lollipop, then maybe some yellow flannel would be in order, but when trying to parody a derivative time and TV, I guess you can't experiment too much. It's a success and a disappointment depending on how you look at it. I've had a few people criticise me over which audio editing software that I use, but Honestly, I don't think you could tell that I switched over to Krusty Brando. Hey look, it's that episode that probably led to 70% of my childhood anxiety and homesickness. Camp Krusty is another class season premiere, and considering its titular location, it would be a missed opportunity not to have your class camp sing-along.
Hail to thee, Camp Krusty, by the shores of Big Snake Lake.
The eponymous track we end up getting is fine, but if I'm being perfectly honest, all I remember about is the closing bit.
Unregistered trademark of the Krusty Corporation, all rights reserved.
As far as camp songs go, it's fine, but CAMPFIRESONG song, this is not.
I saw you last night at the spelling bee. I knew right then that it was LUV.
Don't worry, we will get to their sophomore glow up later on, but we've all got to start somewhere, and Party Posse aren't any different. I don't dislike this song, it does the exact job it sets out to do in being a turn of the century boy band ballad. It's just that it was already a pretty tired sound growing up, and listening back, that hasn't changed. Though seeing Ralph sing with a voice like this,
Cause I can no longer be.
it's always going to get a giggle out of me, so at least there's that. Hey look, it's our first Simpsons episode from this decade, season 31, episode 6. What does it have in store for us? A Riverdale parody? Making fun of Let's Players? Hipster jokes? Oh god, oh god, oh god. Liam, remember what the therapist told you?
The guy who made Mad Max also did Happy Feet, and he said he'd rather die than do another sequel.
No, the other thing.
If a Simpsons episode ever makes you sad, just stop.
I walked into the forest so beautiful and green, and there I saw a woman who was chopping down a tree.
Marge the Lumberjill is an episode about... I can't remember, but it features a song written by folk star Jill Sobel, who you might know from her song in Clueless and I Kissed a Girl, no, the other one. The song in question, Lumberjill, seeks any of its laughs from the visuals that accompany it, meaning this is a sweet folk number basically just encompassing the story so far. It makes getting Jill on board make all the more sense, and means that her sole responsibility is just doing what she does best, and what she does provide here is fine, nothing worth praising and praising, but nothing worth scrutinising either. Perfectly fine.
Remember the stars you loved yesterday. Where did they go? Did they all pass away?
I need to tell you something, but not here. Not here. Meet me at this location. 8:15, not a minute earlier, not a minute later. I'll see you then. Psst, over here. Thanks for meeting me here. So the important thing I have to discuss, Family Guy. One of 5 jokes I remember making me laugh is the Teen Choice Awards gag about like the names becoming more and more recent but just more made up and non-recognisable. This song, Ode to Branson's basically the inverse of that joke. It's just older stars who've kind of gone out of fashion as opposed to new ones you don't recognise. The joke didn't really work for me, but if there's some sort of merit to it, at least the big show tune nature of it is nice enough, just not a song I'd actively pay attention to, and I'm pretty sure this got nominated for an Emmy as well, which I don't really get, but you know, award shows.
Oh, it's a Grammy.
I was meant to do this segment about the amendment song last night, but I didn't. What happened? Yeah, that doesn't help me at all.
I'm not garbage. I'm an amendment to be. Yes, an amendment to be.
Anyway, the amendment song isn't really all that entertaining a track, though considering it's meant to be some filler on the Krusty show after Bart and Lisa unintentionally get Itchy and Scratchy taken off the air, I think it's far more entertaining than it has any right to be, and it also works a good jab at the kind of cartoonish propaganda expected of the American right. I just think that compared to some of the songs we'll discuss, I can't really see this being something people are in a rush to put on. Wait, so hold on, you're telling me that if I put myself in harm's way, a bunch of celebrities will write a song about me? Where were we?
And we're sending our love down the well. All the way down.
Presented in a similar fashion to something like Band-Aid, but without the yikes lyrics, We're Sending Our Love Down the Well is a celebrity virtue signalling track all about helping little Timmy, who's trapped down the thingy that holds the water. I don't know. They actually get a bona fide celebrity in the form of Sideshow Mel to feature alongside Krusty the Clown and that stalker guy from the police. It ticks all the boxes you'd expect a charity type song like this to tick. Nothing special, but certainly not one that flies under the radar. It worked! If you were to ask people what their favourite Simpsons episode was, you'd get a whole range of responses, though I'm certain a good chunk of answers would share something in common: the words Treehouse of Horror. Now, this annual spin-off is known more for its spookiness than its singingness, but that's not to say it's never dipped its rotten toes into the music side of things, and nowhere has this attempt been grander than in Treehouse of Horror XX's No Business Like Mo Business.
Oh, why can no girl love a guy with this mug, whose mother declared you're too ugly to hug?
Yet another addition to the show's lengthy list of musicals, Mo Business takes a page out of Sweeney Todd's book, with Mo serenading Marge after the loss of Homer, who, unbeknownst to her, lays down in the basement impaled on microbrew pipes, his blood becoming a secret ingredient in an addictive new beer. The story of this musical is a bored one, sure, but it's entertaining and has enough of Mo's cynical, self-deprecating humour to get enough laughs out of me. In terms of musical numbers, they're all fine. I was sceptical about the Homer being gay one, since on paper it seemed like it would just be casually homophobic, but I do feel like it justifies its existence, even though I could take it or leave it. Yeah, most of these songs are just fine, though I do like how Mo is in the spotlight. He gets a bit more weight and gravitas, and to be fair, that's the same to go with all the songs. They do feel quite substantial sounding, so yeah, another song or another collection of songs that are totally fine, nothing bad, nothing all that good either.
Bet my money on a stupid horse, I lost that. So I ran out to the track to get my cash back.
Having had a go at nearly every sport there is, Season 11 saw The Simpsons crack a whip in the jockey's direction with the beautiful titled Saddlecore Galactica.
We are the jockeys, jockeys are we. We live underground in a fiberglass tree.
In a scene that's like a more grounded and depressing version of Homer's chocolate fantasy, We Are the Jockeys is a tune in the same vein as a Willy Wonka song. Well, the OG one, that is, not whatever this was. I like the lyrical downward spiral, first describing this mystical land before etching into darker and darker territory, ending a killer be killed threat to Homer about the family horse. A particular highlight is the bassy vocals that interject the argument of
No win,
No show, no place.
Just lose the stinking race.
While there are better fantastical songs to discuss in this list, We Are the Jockeys isn't going to be going to the glue factory anytime soon.
That horse better win, or we're taking a trip to the glue factory, and he won't get to come.
You think this song's bad?
bombardment!
Can't remember what episode this song's from?
How do you like bombardment? Bombardment!
Want me to give you a recap of this episode?
I guess.
Okay. After using a dodgeball to get revenge on an abusive teacher, who, by the way, he misses, leading to the destruction of the school hut and Willie's home, The Simpsons lets everyone reference for a Scotsman stay at their house. Sorry for all that information, by the way. That was a real... the words escaped me just now. Yeah. It'll come back to me, just move on.
Oh, to have me shock rebuilt gets my rotten teeth all drilled.
Now, to the song in question, Adequate, all about Willie being fine with just the bare minimum, which is probably more revealing about his character than anything from the previous 17 seasons. It hits some good comedic beats, so the best are the visual gags, specifically Bart and Lisa's book report grades. Still, a nice wee song all in all, though is it better than his rendition of Maniac? Many have tried, few have succeeded.
Sound like I've never danced before. Gah! That's the stuff.
With an episode title like this, it shouldn't come as a surprise that the episode in question really does rag on American Idol to the point that we get season 3 winner Fantasia guest starring, and we do get a lot of teasers. There are a lot of quote unquote songs, but it's not really until the end that we get something substantial in the form of Always My Dad.
But all I want to do is spend more time with my pappy.
Look, I'll lay all my cards out on the table. My favourite Simpsons dynamic is that between Lisa and Homer. The conflict but mutual respect and understanding we see in episodes like Lisa's wedding are among some of my favourite moments from the entire show. Always My Dad isn't quite as significant in comparison to them, but it's a sweet little number, endearing more in the context of the episode as opposed to a standalone track. It's enough to bring a tear to this old man's eyes. That's Barry acid. As I've mentioned before, I'm 25, born in 1996, and if I were to pick 3 things that defined the comedy of a young person growing up in the late noughties, I would choose 3 things. 1. Astiff movie. 2. Charlie the Unicorn. And 3. Of course, as I said at the beginning, the original Spire Pig tune Homer sings in the film's first act isn't eligible, but what is happens to be the choir version heard during Homer's Epiphany and the Simpsons movie's credits. It was composed by Hans Zimmer, which should be a name you recognise for a bunch of reasons, and while seeing his name on things nowadays doesn't generate the same excitement as it used to, I don't think he was slacking here, even if he insisted he came up with it as a joke. Sure, it is basically the Spider-Man theme tune but with 3 words replaced, but honestly, I'd feel like I was committing some sort of cultural atrocity if I were to omit it from this list. While season 3 may have the most songs eligible for this list, when it comes to the episode that has the most eligible songs, the award goes to season 8's Simpson Califragilistic, the Mary Pop, the Sherry Bobbins episode. For whatever reason, I thought I'd watched this episode loads growing up, which follows the hiring of a nanny after Marge gets so stressed that her hair starts falling out, but turns out I'm thinking of season 3's Homer Alone, where Marge gets stressed out, goes to a spa, and then Maggie goes missing, which I got mixed up with the season 20 episode Gone Maggie Gone, where Maggie goes missing again, and then I think I just blacked out.
If you wish to be our sitter, please be sweet and never bitter.
So if I had to pick my least favourite of the 4 songs from this episode, the opener Minimum Wage Nanny would have to be cut. It's one of those scenarios where it doesn't really do anything wrong, in fact it's just the quirky, delicate pitch it intends and succeeds in being. Not only that, but it also has a few good comedic beats, so as a song it doesn't fail. It's just the unfortunate scenario of it being the weakest out of a great bunch, but don't expect to see another song from this episode showing up for quite a while. So the next song we're going to discuss is from the Sherry Bobbins episode we just talked about.
Buy me a beer, $2 a glass. Come on, help me, I'm freezing my ass.
Barney Gumbo, one of the best known side characters from The Simpsons, a go-to reference point when we think of alcoholics despite his conversion to coffee in later seasons. But yeah, maybe the character I feel doesn't get the rep he deserves for the emotion he can bring, and I don't mean that in a tear-jerking sense of course, more the mood you get from bits like his short film Pocahontas. Who's him named Barney is much the same, bringing a semblance of seriousness and melancholy while reminding you that you are watching an episode of The Simpsons. which is hit home with the exchanges between him and Mo. On a composition level, it's just really nice, and the song is also home to one of my favourite Simpsons music moments ever.
Can I be a booze hound?
Not till you're 15.
She's gonna sing about the Bible and God.
So? She's good looking. Shut up.
You shut up.
A book about a man. A book about the dude who lives above. A book about a man who drives a pickup full of sweet, sweet love.
Had this song appeared in any other episode, I don't think it would have got as high as it has. But if my record in operation is anything to go by, I can't just surgically remove context. He's a Man comes from season 11's Alone Again, Nature Diddly, which may be one of the best known episodes due to its plot.
Maud?
Maud Flanders dies. It's kinda weird watching it nowadays because as a kid, sure there's a shock, but you usually don't have as much of an awareness about mortality, grief and everything like that. I'm not sure I'd call it a great episode, but on a solely Ned focused level, it's pretty special, and to bring this full circle, He's a Man is what brings Ned out of his pit of despair, directly addressing that hopelessness he's feeling and that he's going to be alright, both in the form of his faith and singer Rachel Jordan. In any other episode this would just be a cheesy Christian song, but considering the episode in question is pretty morbid, He's a Man is a pretty sweet one.
My name's Ned Flanders, and I'm here every week. Rain or shine.
Halfway through a ridiculously lengthy video about something stupid like The Simpsons? Need someone to take the pain away? Then try leaving the music reviewer Patreon. For as little as £1 per month, you can get early access to every video and some semblance of inner peace.
Being the music reviewer cannot guarantee anything exactly or similar to dopamine, serotonin, happiness, dignity, clarity, peace. Being the music reviewer also does not take responsibility for anything that happens after pledging, including corrupted GBA save files, illiteracy, overdraft fees, and a strange holiness that you can't drink away.
What song are we on to next? Oh no. It's that gas that turns you into animated cartoon avatar.
So, anyway.
One, for a sign of people, dance until they make us stop.
Two.
Many dancing people, covered with blood, gore, and clot.
Here we have yet another Treehouse of Horror track, this time the closer to what is probably the best installment of these specials. You've got The Shining, the Shinning, the Time Travel Toaster, and the one where the teachers eat the kids that definitely caused some sort of childhood trauma for me. This all culminates in a chorus line which, yeah, it does rely on the track 1 from the Broadway play of the same name, but as far as I'm aware, that show's about auditioning and not about a fog that turns your body inside out. Again, another bit of childhood trauma, no doubt. I can't really praise the production since, like I said, it is borrowing that, but I've always loved the whiplash nature of it, following the most heebie-jeebies laden treehouse segment and making light of the family's newfound fate in their inversed and testing and exposing outfits. I get as excited about hearing this song when rewatching Treehouse 4 or 5, just as much as I am about seeing Willie die repeatedly, which will definitely get me put on some sort of list.
Ow! Ugh, I'm bad at this.
Sorry, I'm just checking out what the synopsis for the season 22 premiere is. The flight of the Conchords get tried at The Hague for their crimes. Oh, wait, not wear my reading cap. Oh, Krusty gets tried at The Hague for their crimes. Typical episode, nothing special here.
Artists end poverty with music and dance.
Artists make art on the beaches of France.
I never knew artists were all so amazing.
Excuse me while I talk to this cow that is grazing.
Yep, this time around it's the Beast story that spawns this song, but it's definitely one worth paying mind to, especially considering it's written by that aforementioned legendary cult duo. While the episode isn't big on laughs, artist distills a fair bit of the quirks and idiosyncrasies you'd come to expect from the guys that brought you I'll Be the Racist Dragon in Hippopotamus versus... I cannot say that word, I'm not even going to attempt it. In terms of complaints, all I can really complain about is that it's only really effective when both parts are listened to back to back. But other than that, it's a fun song that combines some of my favourite things, kiwis and falafel.
Hi, I'm Mo. It's good that little kid left, because this song is going to get into a very dark area.
Everyone, there's a little injured boy sitting in the hospital wanting you to like this video. I know, because I injured him myself, to inspire you all.
Well, Mr. Burns had done it, the power plant had won it, with Roger Clemens clucking all the while.
Homer at the Bat, aka the Sideburns joke episode, is one of the earlier episodes of the show everyone agrees is a classic. From beginning to end it makes an impression, and nowhere is that more true than its closing song Talkin' Softball, which acts as both a homage to Terry Cashman's Talkin' Baseball and a recap of the episode's events. It's not bursting with energy or packed with hilarious quips, but it's such a fitting tune that I'm not really angry that it's lacking in those two areas. Also, I do have this song and the episode itself for making me aware that Wade Boggs is in fact a real person and not just something that Always Sunny made up for a joke.
Hit the elder!
Okay, you asked for it, Boggs!
I'm not a betting man. Not anymore, that is. But if I was to bet on what song people my age remember most from The Simpsons, I would probably guess it was Drop the Bomb, and there is some logic to that. I mean, season 12 didn't have a noticeable markup in viewing figures, despite the fact that as the show went on it was basically becoming less and less popular. But enough of that. The big question is the song any good?
Your love's more deadly than Saddam. That's why I gotta drop the bomb.
I would still call this track a problematic fave because despite being a piece of American propaganda in the context of the episode, Drop the Bomb just goes off. Sure, it's dated, but when the intent of the song is to get in your head, there's no disputing Drop the Bomb as a success with that subliminal hook. And if I already dug how funny Ralph's voice was on Silent G, then Drop the Bomb turns that up to 11.
Time to get in love formation.
Also, I do know there's a third song of theirs called Re-Enlist at the end of this episode, which is basically just a less good Drop the Bomb. It would probably land in the bottom third of this list if you're kind of super interested about that.
Yes, listen to you.
So this season 9 clip show episode does start off with bloody carnage, and considering that it's got Clint Eastwood in a western setting, yeah, if that kind of thing bothers you, just avert your eyes for a second.
That's a pretty sorry looking wagon you got there, mister.
Oh, that's gonna get good.
I reckon it could use a coat of paint.
Well, what are we waiting for? Gonna paint our wagon, gonna paint it good. We ain't bragging, we're gonna...
Okay, now that the initial shock is worn off, I do actually like Gonna Paint Our Wagon. If I was to pinpoint exactly why, it would probably be the structuring of it all, like when it turns quite tense as Lee Marvin shows up, only for him to get involved, his monotone delivery just hitting me in all the right spots. The fact it's a song about such a mundane act, with all the western flourishes, really it could go either way, but it just so happens that this is one of those ones that are permanently embedded in my brain, moving all the stuff I learned about neurology out of my head thingy. Not to be controversial, but if more masses had hymns about peeing on school computers, attendances would just skyrocket.
I was a sinner, a real bad kid. What thou shalt not, I shall did. Neighbor's cat I tried to neuter. Took a whiz on the school computer.
Season 11's Faith Off remind me of two things. The first is just how unpredictable an episode of The Simpsons can be. If you were to sit someone down to watch this and predict where a Homer college reunion was going to end up, you wouldn't have predicted Bart becoming a preacher, let alone Homer becoming complicit in a mob football match fix. The second thing is that the song Testify is a tasty little gospel bop. Sure, maybe it could have a bit more of that church oomph you'd want from a number like this, but I can't deny the warm, albeit shady, tone it has for a Miracle Maker anthem. I also like how it gives Sherry and Terry a bit of the spotlight, considering how their biggest role in other episodes is simply just mocking other people. and I'm also a fan of the congregation that joins near the end, especially as we get a nice mix of other Springfield inhabitants like Mo and Carl's dulcet tones. This one might not convert you, but at the very least you'll be tapping your feet. There's a criticism or two that I see in certain music circles that kinda grind my gears, prime amongst them being when somebody doesn't like something and says it sounds like car advert music. And trust me, I get it. Boy, do I get it. But have you ever stopped to think that not all car adverts were created equally? They weren't all promoting a car with 4-wheel drive that smells like steak and can seat 35. Now, I've not watched much of the latest Simpsons seasons, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's recently an episode where Krusty gets cancelled for a joke. But if such a thing exists, why bother when we already get a great cancelling of Krusty episode? Oh, if you forget about that episode literally called Krusty Gets Cancelled, but anyway.
Can you name the truck with 4-wheel drive? Smells like a steak and seats 35. Canyonero, Canyonero.
You may not have expected Canyonero to appear on this list considered my jingle rule, but remember, I said brief, so I can bend the rules to suit my opinions yet again. With its steady beat and strummed guitar, what this song lacks in density, it more than factors in with catchiness, especially when it comes to the delivery of the titular car by none other than country star Hank Williams Jr. Sure, it might be a sellout anthem, but as a song, it's not a hard sell. Kinda like the Canyonero, the Cadillac of automobiles.
The house is still a mess, and I'm going bald from stress, but we're happy just the way we are.
And now we get to our runner-up from the Sherry Bobbins episode, which is the closer itself, Happy Just the Way We Are. Much like another song we'll get into later on, there's a sardonic tinge embedded into this song, which only now has screamed as a rebuttal to criticisms the show faced during the 90s, whether that be Homer's incompetence, Bart's mischievousness, Lisa's neglect, and distress Marge undergoes at the start of this whole episode. This song acts as a good closer, a fun mini character study, as well as a charming send-off to Sherry Bobbins, who will definitely be seen again. One of the two songs that actually won the Emmy for Outstanding Music and Lyrics I'm checking in is from the season 9 premiere, City of New York vs Homer Simpson, an episode that you'll probably know exclusively from all of those Simpsons predicted the future articles and videos.
I'm checking in. He's checking in. I'm checking in. Checking in.
While Homer spends the A-plot trying to salvage his car, the B-plot focuses on the rest of the Simpsons clan as they explore New York, eventually turning up for the Broadway play Kickin' It, a musical journey through the Betty Ford Centre. On a purely musical level, this song passes with flying colours. It's brilliantly sequenced, full of life, and features some great performances. As a Simpsons song, ergo one that's funny, it's a bit more mixed. I don't think that it brings it down a fair bit, it's just that the best of the best either have me reaching for my sides or reaching for a tissue. I'm checking in, it's certainly impressive for a 90s cartoon, so an Emmy win isn't unwarranted. I just can't say I agree with some of the lists I've seen where this regularly lands in the top 3. Life is like a box of thingies, and sometimes those thingies are bad, like the Simpsons doing their 5th clip show episode in the span of 13 seasons, constantly referring back to episodes so good that they would never come close to recreating the quality of in the future. And sometimes those thingies are good, like the Simpsons having their own go at We Didn't Start the Fire.
They'll never stop the Simpsons. Have no fears, we've got stories for years, like Marge becomes a robot.
Gump Roast, the episode They'll Never Stop the Simpsons spawns from, is regarded as the worst episode of its respective season, but even the sourest of sourpusses can admit that the closing song is its saving grace, and I couldn't agree more. I've always had a real soft spot for it, and it's easy to break down why. Firstly, the aforementioned Billy Joel energy is a big plus, but in addition to the intentionally hilarious bad ideas for future episodes in the second verse, like Mo getting a cell phone, as well as Dan Castellaneta starting to do the do-do-do as he runs out of ideas, this rubs me in all the right ways. I love Lisa. I love the season 4 episode I Love Lisa, most of all for the way that it mostly dignifies one of the show's biggest laughing stocks, that being Ralph Wiggum. While there are plenty of jokes at his expense in the episode, seeing him show genuine affection, get his heart broken, and then use that pain as energy for a terrific performance that bookends the episode is just fantastic. And the song we're talking about has got nothing to do with this plot. Oh.
You can actually pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half. And now.
We are the mediocre presidents. You won't find our faces on dollars or on cents.
As luck would have it though, a great episode just so happens to produce a fun wee tune in the form of the mediocre presidents, which, if I was describing 5 words, horrible histories for the Americans. It's not too dissimilar to the Amendment song in that it's got that educational core with some humour entwined, but unlike that song, President's Execution, no, not that one, is far more satisfying. The jokes feeling more seamless, the performances are a lot of fun, and the song as a whole etching its way into my memory fairly easy. So, shock number 1, we're finally in the top 20. Shock number 2, the song to get the top 20 kicked off is from an episode that came out this year.
Every day I try to smile, but can't help but frown.
While it may have a title better suited for an early Fall Out Boy song, Everyone Is Horrid Except Me, Possibly You is actually spoofing another artist, that being The Smiths, and this all comes about from Lisa discovering the band and basically coming to the conclusion that she's better than everyone, a ritual that every teenager has to undergo at some point. I won't beat around the bush, I was dreading having to check this song out based on the info I knew about it, but this season 32, and you heard me right, season 32 song is actually pretty good. For one, the composers absolutely nailed the feel of a Smiths Morrissey tune, most notably the bass that gets its moment to shine near the tail end. Not only that, but the lyrics, which I was most worried about, are actually pretty playful and got a few chuckles out of me. The big highlight being
In Manchester the people were loyal and kind, and I hated them. Someone should have sedated them.
the songwriters of this song just managed to capture what makes this type of song good and twist it in a way that plays to both the Smiths and the Simpsons strengths. I was already a fan of this song, and then I found out the real life Morrissey was riddled with rage over it. That's just a cherry on top. Some will argue that there's no merit to anything the Simpsons have done past season 19, but a track like Everyone Is Horrid goes to show it's still capable of some cynical gold. I won't go into too much detail about how much I love the season 3 episode Colonel Homer, mainly because we're going to be talking about the episode again at some point in the future, but all I'll say is again to rewatch it for the purposes of this video as research is one of the best perks of the job. It almost makes the comments about not being able to understand me all the more bearable. Almost. If you're looking for a quick synopsis, here you are. Homer falls out with Marge after being humiliated at the cinema, and after seeing her perform at a faraway bar, becomes the manager of Lurleen Lumpkin, whose interests lie beyond just becoming a star.
Oh, the bases were empty on the diamond of my heart when the coach called me up to the plate.
On to the music itself, and Bag Me a Homer may be the weakest of the two songs eligible for this video, but don't take that as a damning statement against it. With its playful baseball metaphors, the overall pepiness in addition to the flirtation that permeates the entire episode makes this song not only important but a whole lot of fun. A certain other song might do the job better, but as far as I'm concerned, this is still a home run. Let's see if you can guess what song we're about to discuss just from this bit of info. Season 6, episode 20. Nothing? How about I give you a little kind of synopsis of the plot? Can't say that. Can't say that. What about the song? What about the song that features in the episode? What's that about? Can't say that either. Can't say that either.
See my
Vest, see my vest, made from real gorilla chest.
Considering the 101 Dalmatians parody this episode partly is, it only makes sense that See My Vest exists in order to make the already villainous Mr. Burns just as deplorable as one Miss DeVille. And boy does it succeed. I could praise it for being awfully catchy, and it absolutely is, no doubt about it, but for me, it's just how ridiculously playful it is that has me won over. Even if it is a song about wanting to murder dogs for your own vain gain, which, if I remember school well, is a bad thing, the wordplay and rhyming is just entertaining as fuck. Everyone has their favourites of the many animal-made clothes Byrne has acquired over the years, but the loafers made of gophers and Irish setter sweater are the two that have stuck with me the most. It's a song so confident in itself that Bart pretty much becomes a self-insert for the viewer, and rightly so.
Bart! Sorry, you gotta admit it's catchy.
You know, I've always been very committed to my stance on not yanking canes away from elderly citizens, but I think I'm going to have to forgo my morals on this one.
Hello! When I first arrived, you were all such jerks, but now I've come to love your quirk.
One of the best known songs from the golden years, and in general from the show, Who Needs a Quickie Mart is an absolute treat of a song. Whether it's the delightful flexibility and playfulness of Apu's lyrics, that catchy chorus, the satisfying climax, or Grandpa repeatedly being hurt for laughs, it's not hard to see why I would have it so high up on this list, and why it remains to be a favourite. However... Heads, I solve racism with a YouTube video about the Simpsons. Tails, I don't. Oh man. So I won't hold you for too long on this, but it would be, for a lack of a better word, unwise if I discussed an Apu-centric song without mentioning the problem with Apu. I'm sure most of you are aware of this 2017 documentary and the conversation that's opened about stereotypes and white actors voicing non-white characters, which is absolutely an important one. There's not really much for me to add other than if you would put this song lower due to it feeling like it's racist or just puts a bad taste in your mouth, I wouldn't argue with you. Before anyone starts to say that I'm bowing down to pressure, or you've already commented the alt-right buzzword of the month down below, this song would have been in this position regardless. It is a really enriching, passionate, touching wee song, but yeah, that's as high as it would have gone regardless if the conversation wasn't happening just now. That being said, if you disagree with where I've put it, or with anything that I've said so far, you are racist. Deal with that in your own time. If there's one thing that's consistent across The Simpsons' entire run, it's his love of guest stars. There are literally too many to count though. If you want some of my favourites, I'd have to at the very least mention Harvey Fierstein, Johnny Cash, Glenn Close, John Waters, Al Brooks, Meryl Streep, and last but not least, Steve Martin, who appears in season 9 favourite Trash of the Titans with maybe my favourite quote from the show.
You know, I'm not much on speeches, but it's so gratifying to leave you wallowing in the mess you've made. You're screwed. Thank you. Bye.
With his experience in music and comedy, it makes too much sense for him to... He's not involved in any way. But fucking you two are.
Who can take your trash out? Stomp it down for you. Shake the plastic bag and do the twisty thingy too. The garbage man!
Garbage Man ticks a lot of boxes, but if there's one element that I can pinpoint as the reason for me humming this Candyman parody for years and years, it's just the delivery. Chief Wiggum's croaky, long-held enunciation of man alone is just raw laugh fodder for me. It obviously helps that this song is just as addictive as its Willy Wonka roots would have you expecting. Let's just think a bit less about Bono's arse. So you were waiting for the best song from the Sherry Bobbins episode? Here it is.
Man bratwurst has a second name, it's
No.
If you cut every corner, it is really not so bad. Everybody does it, even mom and dad.
I talked a bit about the impact Simpsons had on me growing up, and I'd like to think this video shows a kind of attachment I've had for it on a musical level as well as a comedy one. And when it comes to combining the top-notch music and side-splitting sensibilities of The Simpsons, Few songs do it better than Cut Every Corner. Like anyway, and cleaning up my room was a begrudgingly done task, but when my brother got the Simpsons Season 8 DVD for his birthday, whenever I heard the song Cut Every Corner, that was just a formative experience. Now, my mum will be the first to tell you that I didn't suddenly become a master cleaner by any means, but Cut Every Corner was a track that would be on loop in my head for the 10 minutes I could be bothered to tidy up, and it's not hard to see why. The development from quaint little number to a big band banger, the social implications, the moment where Apu and Sherry slow things down via a milk carton, and just the range of characters who get to inject their own personality into the track. It's just a checklist of successes, and I'm on that. Just like the visual gag at the end where Homer slams the door shut, revealing all of the half-arsed head mess, puts a big smile on my face every time. The episode Wild Farts Can't Be Broken. The episode Wild Fart. This episode is quite musically strong from the get-go, with that Cyndi Lauper rendition of the national anthem. It's very quirky and puts every Super Bowl halftime act to shame. At least 79% of them. Don't ask me, I've done the maths. Memorable is quite the keyword for this episode, because while it's from season 10, which many seem to pinpoint as the start of the show's downward trajectory, rewatching it for this video made me realise how much I've tucked away in my dysfunctional memory that seems to only store info pertinent to The Simpsons. I think that comes down to just how many funny bits there are.
House, do you see what's on Channel 6? Yeah, it's really something.
As well as the concept of there being a curfew that the kids of Springfield rebel against, leading to even more jokes and the track Adults Kids.
Adults!
Kids!
Adults!
Kids!
Adults!
Kids! You've had your fun, now we've had our fill.
Yeah, you're only here 'cause Marge forgot her pill.
Popping up at the rear end of this episode, Adults Kids thankfully doesn't bring down the quality of the episode, offering a back and forth cross-generational battle show tune that utilises Springfield's colourful cast of characters and provides some funny quips, all culminating in a surprise third verse from Grandpa and the other old gins, which wraps this all up in a neat little package. A streetcar named Marge may not rank in the top 100 rated episodes of The Simpsons. Hell, there's 3 episodes with Marge in the title ranked higher than this, but in the immortal words of Kent Brockman,
I've said it before and I'll say it again, democracy simply doesn't work.
Seriously, this episode is just a triumph. One of, if not the most interesting Marge arc. Ned Flanders' abs, plenty of laughs, Ned Flanders' abs, great emotional scenes, Ned Flanders' abs, and most importantly, some incredible music. Did I mention Ned Flanders' abs?
You can always depend on the kindness of strangers to buck up your spirit and shield you from dangers.
As established already, musicals in this show will be reviewed as a whole and not by individual songs, but in the case of Old Streetcar, either style of judging wouldn't be able to take away how much of a joy the music is. There are just so many highlights to be found in its 3-odd minute run, whether that be Ned's impassioned Stella, Marge's raspy addition to any song she appears in, the tonally deaf when you consider the context but still enjoyable show tune, Kindness of Strangers, and one of my favourites, Apu's Paperboy, specifically his hold of Do, which just always gives me a giggle. Sure, maybe the acting in between could sever you on it and not all the songs are equally strong, but when all is said and done, it's hard not to join in on that big ol' applause. Not only is a Millhouse Divide an episode that really upset me as a kid because of the divorce plot, it is also home to one of my favourite jokes.
Did anyone see that new Woodsy Allen movie?
You know, I like his films, except for that nervous fella's always in them.
And it also happens to have a song that is just as iconic as its Dignity bit. Now, what is it called again? Can I borrow a feeling?
Can I borrow a feeling?
Could you lend me a jar of love?
Where was I again? yeah, Can I Borrow a Feeling by Kurt Van Houten. It's maybe a bit too pathetic, and this has come from the guy that owns 2 Weezer records. Hey! But the little jazzy intro was nice and warm, and I do like Kirk's voice, which has the roughness of AstroTurf on bare knees. It may not be as high on this list as some may like, but you can soften the blow by supporting Kirk on the next Bandcamp Friday. I watched the season 3 premiere of The Simpsons to find a song for this list as part of my research, that episode being Miss Lisa Goes to Washington. But as the credits rolled, it dawned on me that there was no song. Disney Plus would never lie to me. Did I get it wrong? Had I made it up? And why is there an iceberg slowly turning up in opacity on my screen just now? I then remembered what was going on, and that for once I wasn't actually in the wrong. Starkraven Dad used to be the season 3 premiere, but it starred someone once adored, now controversial, who I don't want to name for legal reasons, so let's just call him Jaiko Maxon. I still think this is a good episode, emphasis on think, as it has been a while since I watched it and Disney have taken it off their service. But I did have cold feet about including it on this list because of the personal character of Jaiko Maxon, which is why we're moving on. That's how it would have gone until I found out that the song we're about to discuss, in fact, did not feature Jaiko Maxon. He did write it, so we can fill up my problematic thermometer a little bit, but he in fact did not sing on it due to contractual obligations that I'll not bore you with.
Lisa, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Lisa.
And I cannot begin to tell you how relieved I was that I didn't have to admit Happy Birthday Lisa from this video, because it does hold such a special place in my heart. For one, it just sounds really good. Bart's little homemade drum in the form of a bucket gives it a nice groove, as well as Leon Kapowski's piano playing. The concept as well is just super wholesome, and seeing and hearing it all unfold never fails to put a smile on my face. My partner and I sing this song to one another on our birthdays as like an inside joke / sincere ritual, and I think just that element alone is what makes this song land in such a high position, and I think that and everything else I've said so far does vindicate it. When it comes to season 6's Homer the Great and what category of legendary Simpsons episode it lands in, it would definitely be the one that's titled Shit Gets Wild, because Homer discovers a cult and then becomes leader of said cult. Now, who knows how to sell viewers on their cult in a time before Minecraft? Maybe it was 5 minutes ago or 5 hours, but when we talked about High to Be Loathed, I was positive about the concept, just not so much about the execution. Lo and behold, the Stonecutter song, or We Do, the song that puts the cult in cult classic. Its primary purpose is to lay out all the devious ways the Stonecutters control the world, from controlling the British monarchy to rigging the Oscars, which means they've got some explaining to do for 2019. It's just so much more satisfying and entertaining than listing off famous villains, especially when we get a voice in this drunken choir after the admission of keeping aliens a secret. We Do does fly by, but like the very best episodes of The Simpsons, it does not waste a single second of its runtime. It makes such an impression. It is the very song you can imagine singing with your cult comrades as you down a pint. Just avoid the Kool-Aid. There are 2 things I would like to thank the Simpsons episode A Fish Called Selma for. 1, for giving Kermit the Frog a sword. My trifecta is now complete. And 2, for giving us the best Simpsons musical.
Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Oh, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas.
Where to even start this? I mean, I've probably said and will say multiple times in this video the insert song is my most hummed of the entire show, but Dr. Zayas 100% is. I find myself thinking about it and those breakdancing monkeys at just the most inopportune times. While it might be far tighter than the other musicals we've discussed so far with only 2 songs, boy, what 2 songs they are. Dr. Zayas is one of the funniest things The Simpsons has ever done, as well as just being a whole lot of fun. The Closer Made a Monkey Out of Me may not land as well without the parody nature of it, but it and the existence of this musical as a whole is such a good concept that I can't blame them for trying to do it multiple times afterwards, even if Old Streetcar was the OG. The other obvious highlight is none other than Troy McClure, who you might know from stuff. He was voiced by the legendary Phil Hartman, and look, I could easily start to eulogise him, but I think the best thing to do would be to remember him solely for the gold he produced as an actor. And boy, do he have the comedic and musical chops to sell me on a Planet of the Apes musical.
He can talk, 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 he can talk. I can sing.
I guess you could say I'm bananas for the Planet of the Apes musical. Who wrote that? Me? Hey. Yeah? You're fired.
Number 8. Number 8. Number 8.
I may not be certain that Marge vs. the Monorail is my favourite Simpsons episode, but if you're looking for an example of the show at its absolute joke-a-second peak, you'd be hard done finding a better one. Seriously, chuck this on and count the number of laughs per minute. You'll need to expose yourself to some radiation to count them on your free gangly hands.
I swear it's Springfield's only choice. Throw up your hands and raise your voice. Monorail. What's it called? Monorail. Once again.
The piece de resistance of the entire thing is none other than the Monorail song, Lyle Lanley's pitch for what Springfield should spend $3 million on. It's peppy, infectious, and most importantly, hilarious. I've seen this ranked very highly on a bunch of Simpsons song lists, and I can totally see why for a long time it was my number one. It is just a masterclass in comedy and entertainment, much like the episode it features in. It just so happens that there are a handful of songs that I prefer more, which is just testament to this song's quality as well as the rest that we're about to discuss.
Mono, don't!
I hate to put the bear in bearer of bad news, but while WAP is a great sex posy song, the fine people at Maison Derriere did beat them to the punch.
We're the sauce on your steak, we're the cheese in your cake. We put the spring in Springfield.
And just like future presidential nominees Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, Belle and her burlesque house managed to get a torch-bearing angry mob on their case, which is always a sign of success in my books. While Cardi and Megan waited for their detractors to start injecting horse dewormer, Maison Derriere decided to hit back with the song We Put the Spring in Springfield, which is debatably a lot more effective. This one ranks high on a lot of Simpsons song lists, and that's no different here. If you can dethrone the usual Monorail song champion, then you must be doing something right, and Spring in Springfield is doing a whole lot of somethings. When I was younger, I merely appreciated this number for sounding weighty and catchy, but being the person that puts the Y in analysis, why oh god am I doing so much analysis, I love the message of this track, one that held true in the 90s and is even more relevant now. That message boils down to places being defined both by what's on the surface and what lies below. And while people like Marge resent the existence of a burlesque house, as the song puts it, it's just as much of a part of what makes the town tick as the Quickie Mart and the Great Tire Fire. The big band sounds of the song only go to boost the quality of this track, one that has the allure and satisfaction of the location it's trying to defend. Or well, that's what a friend told me anyway. It's time for Lurleen Lumpkin tune numero... The first one she sings out of the two that feature in Colonel Homer, and if you thought Bag Me a Homer was an earworm, then just you wait until you hear this one.
Work all day for some old man, sweat and break your back.
Now, as your wife don't understand you dangerously close to veering into I'm not like other cowgirls territory? Absolutely. Does that make it any less of a charming country gem? Absolutely not. Like most of the greatest Simpsons songs, it's the context that gives this song some oomph, and with this episode following Homer's temptation from another woman, no, not that one, and not that one either, this track carries some weight. It's so infectious that it's not hard to see why it could distract someone enough to cause citywide power cuts and heart failure. At the end of the day, isn't that what we all want from our music? Wait, so you're telling me that the highest rated episode that features on this list in turn features a very, very good song? Next you're going to tell me that next time I'm on screen I'm going to be more zoomed in. If I tell you the episode in question, then you'll guess the song right away. It is, of course...
Now do classical gas!
Okay, it's not that one. Instead, it's a Union Strike folk song, a lovely 2-part Lisa ballad at 7 tracks. You guessed it, the Power Plant Union Strike.
Come gather round, children, it's high time ye learned about a hero named Homer and a devil named Burns.
It's easy to overlook this song considering just how rampant it is with laughs, but like the very best Simpsons episode, there's a heart to last exit at Springfield that is dependent on this song. Not only is it a great way for Lisa to express herself in a way we hadn't seen before, folk instead of jazz, but it's also a confidence boost for her due to the Lisa needs braces side plot. Taking this into consideration along with the empowered nature of it, a call to arms that is simple but to the point, that eventually culminates in a sing-along prior to the Union's victory, and it's not hard to be won over by it. There may be better songs on this list, but when it comes down to what feels the most important, this one shines.
Yoink! Hey!
Everyone remembers where they were when the final part of the Who Shot Mr. Burns saga aired. For me, I was too preoccupied with not being alive. Not one of my proudest moments, definitely a low point. This 2-parter is nothing short of legendary. Not only did the mystery last 4 months, but no one was the wiser as to who was the culprit. And oh boy, were there a lot of people trying to guess who did it, to the point you could bet on it. For the record, betting $20 on the correct suspect would have won you over $1,000. I bet the Safdie brothers wish they'd set their film in the 90s now. When it came to part 2 airing, there was plenty to reward the patience of fans. You've got second most likely suspect Mr. Smillers retracing his steps, Chief Wiggum trying to uncover the mystery featuring a Twin Peaks dream sequence that made me squeal, and most importantly, a song/piece of evidence by real life Latin legend Tito Puente.
Listen, if you will, to my revenge. 1, 2, 3.
Wounds won't last long, but an insulting song Burns will always carry with him.
Senior Burns is a song I've only got to appreciate more and more as I've grown up. For starters, there's nothing really like it in the context of the show. We've had plenty of country songs and even a few jazz numbers, but when it comes to mambo, at least for a slanderous piece of mambo, Senior Burns stands tall and proud as the sole example. As I've established, instrumentally this is a pretty unique song, and a total hoot on that level alone, but with the appearance of George Balamesta on vocals, it gets taken to a whole new level. The sheer vitriol and the elegance in which it is delivered is genuinely remarkable, and when it gets to this bit...
In hell, you rotten rich or wretch.
Chills. Absolutely chills. Everyone that tuned in knew they were going to have their mystery solved, but I don't think they were expecting an all-time great Simpsons song to go along with it, though I very much doubt that they were complaining about that. Did you guys know there was a Simpsons season 1? Well, it's not totally emblematic of the Simpsons we'd come to know and love. The debut season is not without its merit. Sure, maybe the laughs aren't quite there, but the heart is undeniable. Episodes like Simpsons Are Roasting Fire and No Disgrace Like Home get a lot of love, but for my money, my favourite from season 1 has to be Moaning Lisa. Moaning Lisa is less of an episode and more of a manifesto, laying out Lisa Simpson as a character. And well over the years, she suffered from flanderisation like most of the show's cast. The core established in these 23 minutes is brilliant, intelligent and creative, but misunderstood and miserable. It's not until Lisa eventually bumps into jazz extraordinaire Bleeding Gums Murphy, voiced by real-life blues musician and actor Ron Taylor, that she finds some sort of purpose, something that motivates her.
Oh, I'm so lonely since my baby left me. I got no money and nothing is free.
This all culminates in Mona Lisa Blues, which, much like the season it features in, is understated but not lacking in the soul department in the slightest. The sax playing, the improv delivery of Lisa's qualms, Ron Taylor's chunky, gorgeous voice, the sheer rawness of it all, topped off that beautiful moonlit environment, makes it pretty easy for me to call this one of, if not the most underrated Simpsons song ever. Had Jazzman been eligible for this list, considering that it is a cover, yeah, it would have far and away been my number 1 pick for this list, but I do think that Moaning Lisa Blues is a more than worthy runner-up in the cinematic Bleeding Gums Murphy universe. I've read a lot of Simpsons song rank lists, as I've mentioned already in this video, and it's not because I'm incapable of having my own thoughts. I just keep that for my regular reviews. No, I wanted to see what the general consensus was on the best tunes, and we've already discussed some of the usual list toppers: the Monorail song, Canyonero, Stonecutter song. I bring all of this up because this next one might be a shocker, and that's because I may have told a bit of a fib earlier on.
Well, I have been working on something that could really heat things up.
Let's hear it.
So I might ask you to bunk with me tonight. Bunk with me tonight.
Bunk with me tonight is short, coming in at around 44 seconds, which for a joke per second show that The Simpsons was in its third season is a blink or you'll miss it length. I wouldn't be surprised if A, you didn't think this track would appear on this list because of that, and B, I have to use some B-roll of The Simpsons skateboarding to accompany this voiceover because it just is so compact. What Bunk With Me Tonight lacks in length, it more than makes up for in impact, and with lush instrumentation it reminds me of the prettier, melancholy era Smashing Pumpkins cuts, in addition to the song's meaning, Arlene Lumpkin's admission of her feelings, and the pressure it puts on Homer. Man, it's heavy, at least it is for me. And when it comes full circle at the end with Stand By Your Manager, the spiritual successor, I won't lie, but I shed a few tears. I mean, it started raining on my face. Wait, I was meant to make that joke during the Concord segment. Hey me! Oh, yeah, forgot about that. Despite what society may have told you, despite what society may have told you, when you see that sign on the back of a vehicle, it's not to make you aware of the presence of a fragile Wayne in the vehicle in front. No, it's to let you know that the person in front of you has taste.
And a 1, and a 2, and a 3. Boom, boom, boom. Baby on board, how I'm adored.
Baby on Board may be the simplest of all the songs to appear in the top section of this list, but what it lacks in depth, it more than makes up for in catchy, earwormy goodness, and unlike most songs on here, there was stiff competition in this very episode that were just a bit too fleeting to qualify, such as Coney Island Babe, which leads to one of my favourite Simpsons jokes ever.
We'd like to dedicate this next number to a very special woman. She's 100 years old, and she weighs over 200 tons.
This enormous woman will devour us all!
I meant the statue.
I could go into a lot of depth about this song. I could talk about the plucky little banjo, and I could talk about the romantic sentiment, despite it being simple, it just being utterly heartwarming, talking about heartwarming. I could talk about the jokes that surround it, and just how this song is a comfort to me. Hopefully it's a comfort to you, because to put it simply, it's a GOAT Simpsons song from a GOAT Simpsons episode. There's really no better way I could put it than with that. It's funny, considering the constant criticism the show we've just covered gets for going on indefinitely. It's hard for me to figure out how this video should end. Should the major takeaway be Simpsons music good? I mean, I wouldn't be mad if it was, but I'd like to think there's something more to my rambling than just that. I'd like to think that this video represents a part of me that maybe I should take more pride in, that being I can be super passionate, to the point that such an arbitrary topic like Simpsons songs activates something inside of me that leads to me writing a dissertation-length script. I'm 25, I don't know if I mentioned that already, and that doesn't make me old, but it does mean I'm getting older. And if there's something I want to do more going forward that I've wasted too much of my life not doing, it's not being ashamed of what brings me joy and makes me me. Whether that's dressing up in silly costumes, becoming obsessed with a piece of media and making it my personality, or creating an hour-plus long video about a miscellaneous topic.
What he's typed will be a window into his madness. Wow, that's a relief.
I want to embrace all of my quirks and my passions to the absolute max. I'm really proud of what I've made so far. I'm even more proud of the fact that there's people like my wonderful patrons that are on screen just now who want to financially support me. And even though I'm half a decade into this whole YouTube thingy, I feel like I'm only getting started. I still feel like some of my best work's ahead of me. Yeah, I won't ramble on any further. Just thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, stay safe, stay hydrated.